Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London. And you can follow me on Instagram. I am Skeindeer over there, and you can find me as a designer called Skeindeer Knits on Ravelry. And you can join the Ravelry group Skeindeer Knits if you want to get in touch, if you need help with anything, if you have any questions about Norwegian knitting, pattern, yarn, etc., or take part in giveaways and knit-alongs. Did I say that already? It's a long list of things that group has to offer. Anyway, welcome to the podcast. This is my little knitting talk show. I just sit here and babbling about knitting for about an hour, which may take a little bit longer today because I have been to Bergen Knitting Festival. I returned 2 days ago. I host a number of knit-alongs. If you don't know what a knit-along is, it's just people knitting the same pattern or item, subject, category or something together. I am hosting the year-long knit-along of 2018, where we aim to make 6 pairs of colorwork mittens each for the duration of 2018. So that is essentially 1 month, 1 mitten per month. And yeah, we're coming to an end. I am definitely going to make that goal. I haven't counted whether I've already made it. I'm just producing mittens all the time now, mostly for the Sølje Mitten Club, which is my other knit-along. That's also a pattern subscription club. So basically the way that works is you just buy the ebook on Ravelry, you buy the publication, and you get a pattern each month until Christmas. So it was sold with the August mittens already included. They are the speedy Sølje mittens, and then you got Evja at the beginning of September, and then in October Marit was launched. I realized just now I haven't even picked up Marit from where I put my mittens. Hang on. So having dived into my mitten stash, this is the mittens in the club. So it started off with the speedy Sølje mittens. These are kind of RM2 chunky weight mittens, really quick to knit up. If you need different sizes than the ones offered in the pattern, that applies to all of these, just go up a needle size. If you need a smaller size, just go down a needle size. You don't need like different sizes. Like I do get the odd email of people saying, oh, your fingering weight mittens were too small for me, but your DK weight mittens fit, so can I transfer the pattern to DK weight mittens? I'm like, really? You only need to change the needle size. I know, it's amazing. And with wool and spun yarn, it really is quite forgiving of a plethora of gauges. You know, the tension of the fabric, how big each stitch is, that makes the mitten either bigger or larger. Bigger or smaller. So, you know, that's worth trying. And yeah, then we had Evja coming out in September, and now Marit has come out. Marit is named after the mother of Sølje mittens. She was the first that really ever produced Sølje mittens. I don't know if we know exactly what the first ones looked like. I don't think they looked as kind of streamlined as the one we have today, where we just know that we want 2 Norwegian stars and a ribbed cuff and kind of know that's a Sølje mitten. I don't actually think they looked like that, but they were colorwork mittens using naturally white and black yarn, so pretty much sort of unbleached white and sort of yellowish and a dark brown. So this is Marit. Marit is just a given name in Norway. It's funny because I usually name my Sølje mittens after places in Serbia, places that I know from having been there, or at least driven past them or see the road signs or something. But for some reason I felt like giving this the name after a person, and who better than Marit Emstad herself. She ended up producing a lot of Sølje mittens in her days, even though she kind of brought the first ones to church when she was quite young. And yeah, she's framed in the Sølje Mitten Museum exhibition that's traveling around museums in Norway. And yeah, I thought she needed her own mittens. So these are both made in DK weight yarns. You could probably use worsted and sport weight, you know, neighboring categories. Like I said, it's quite forgiving of different yarn weight categories. Just make sure it's a non-superwash wool and spun yarn if you want to be sure. I have had luck with some worsted spun as well. Worsted spun meaning that the fiber's been combed parallel, so it's a smoother yarn, whereas a worsted spun is a bit more of a fibers poking in every direction kind of yarn. So yes, just gonna wrap up that by saying there are bundles in my Ravelry favorites as Skeindeer where you can find out what kind of yarns you have to choose from, and there will be other yarns similar to that as well out there in the world. I would look into the Woolly Thistle and isolde.com for yarns that are suitable. There is also Esbast, there is SKD Yarns, there's lots of yarn shops that ship internationally. Now, I've actually been thinking about producing more mittens, specifically for Christmas mystery, the way I did last year. So last year I did these. This is julekväll. A bit too early to talk about Christmas perhaps, but I just wanted to say I am planning on doing it again. I have knitted one mitten already, but the reason I'm actually mentioning this right now is because I am going to be using worsted spun yarn. I'm going to be using Susan Crawford Excelana 4-ply, and I found that I get a longer row gauge with that yarn, with worsted spun yarn. I think I'm knitting a bit looser in general, and it's mostly affected my row gauge. So I will be experimenting with offering 2 different heights. So yeah, number of rows for the mittens. So those of you who find that this is maybe a bit too long for you, I will try to snip it down a little bit. You will have to know this up front because we want the chart on the back to align with the decreases up here, so things will have to start differently down here. I will also get you to practice that a little bit for the next mittens coming in the club. This is unrelated to the club, I just thought I'd mention that and tease you a bit with that. It happened by accident. I just accidentally knitted the mitten too long and then reproduced a shorter chart, and I realized, you know what, when life gives you lemons, I just made 2 versions of those mittens. And I think I'm going to get into that habit more because we all had different hands, we all had different row gauges, and I think I could put in a bit of maths there to help you figure out which length you need, even when it is a mystery mitten. So the mystery mittens are happening. If you're wondering whether you want to take part because they are mysteries, I'm just gonna say, if you like these, you're probably gonna like the mystery mittens that are coming. Not that I'm like making the same ones, I just thought that's the best description I can put without really revealing anything. So that was that pile of mittens. I had a giveaway last week. I had a giveaway for Yarnporium here in London, and the winner is, drumroll, neandertalensis. I'll put your name down here. I do believe you are Norwegian, so if you're another Norwegian situated in the UK, hello, I hope you can make it. So you just need to contact me by private message on Ravelry, just letting me know which day you'd like. I will get in touch with the Yarn in the City ladies, Alison and Rachel, to see how we can sort this out with tickets and such. And I'm drinking tea. I'm drinking some pukka tea, however you want to pronounce that. It's nighttime tea because it seems to kind of sort of soothe my massive anxiety as of late, and it's drank from a Remembrances pottery mug. It's made by Natalie, who is an amazing ceramics lady, and she's also arranging the Not Going to Rhinebeck festival. It's an online festival for people who are not going to Rhinebeck. It's not an anti-Rhinebeck festival by no means, it's just so that you are going to be feeling a bit less like you are missing out. I am apparently coming with a mitten pattern for this. I didn't realize I had promised a mitten pattern, I just thought I'd promised a pattern or a sale or something. But Jodie on the Grocery Girls told the world that I'm coming with a pattern, so I'm coming with a pattern. I do have some mittens cooking that I haven't specifically thought to publish in any other context. So yeah, sorry if you can hear my washing machine and noise outside. I just really needed the windows open today, and it's quite nice, and it's clouded, so I've got a good light and everything is really good. It will be good until the neighbor's dog comes out, I'm sure. So yeah, I was talking about Yarnporium. I want to tell you a little bit more about Yarnporium, which I didn't really get around to do when I was in Norway, but now that I'm in London, I'm feeling sort of inspired. Plus they're giving me a free entry ticket under like a media pass. So I feel like, okay, if I'm the media monkey, I'm gonna do some media monkey things. They are amazing. Yarnporium didn't happen last year, but they did it the year before. So I guess as of now, it's a biannual thing. They have lots of classes, they have lots of vendors, and it's really cool. You know, some of the teachers are the Lane magazine editors. They're going to teach photography. There will be Carrie Westerman teaching, Renee Callahan of East London Knits, Nathan of Sock Mortician, Julie Knits in Paris, just to name a few. And there will also be a lot of really interesting vendors. There will be Garnsurr, there will be Walcott Yarns, we'll have King Fibers and Travel Knitter and Wool Kitchen, who are all local dyers, as is Easy Knits, I just remembered. But yeah, Garnsurr and Blacker Yarns, I love them. And John Auburn Yarns, there's going to be lots of really big names there. And it's really exciting because it's a festival, or at least a 2-day event happening in London, because I can't really travel anymore. I hope I can make it to Edinburgh, but I've been given a PhD deadline loosely sort of at the end of March. So I've had to say no to other events. There is the Mitten Day in Lillehammer in Norway, which I will perhaps talk a bit more about if time allows. But yeah, it's basically a 1-day event where people who love knitting mittens get together. I know Maja Karlsson's going to be there, who's just released a mitten book that we'll be talking about a bit later. And I was initially invited to go there, and I was like trying to make it work, and I really couldn't. The same applies for Midtnorsk Strikkefestival that's happening in my region this week, I think, coming weekend. And there is TRD Knits, TRD Strikk, Trondheim Strikk, if you will, which is hosted by some really amazing people, and I would love to take part. And I was initially going to teach, and I just had to say I just can't make it work, which I hate doing. I hate cancelling. Like, I've had bigger reasons to cancel things before, and I haven't. I've stuck with it, and this time I really wanted to do this, and I just can't make things worse. I'm not really going to be traveling anywhere, so I'm so thrilled that Yarnporium is going to happen in London, so I don't have to miss out any time that I need to put into my degree. Another thing about their event that's piqued my interest is that the Yarn Collective is going to have a lounge, but it's not a podcast lounge, it's an everyone lounge. It's just a place where you can sit down and like show off all the yarn you bought and just chill, which is really cool. Now let's talk about some of the things I have been knitting on since the last time we spoke. I'm sure that's why a bunch of you are here, and I actually have more knitting to talk about than I did last week, which when I got my things together I really didn't think so. But I have put a considerable dent into Threadmuir by Isolde Teague. Yeah, so you've seen this before. The yoke was done eons ago, but the body's been a bit of a slog for me. It's a very fine yarn, so I reckon it takes me a while to work up a considerable length with row gauge, which I'm still trying to get my head around. But yeah, the body's pretty much a lot longer than last time we saw this. I think I was probably about here. So that's a lot of length. I'm now debating whether I want to increase a little bit for an A-line when we get to the part of my body that's a little bit wider. I don't know. But oh, it's so nice. It doesn't weigh anything. I was knitting this at Bergen Knitting Festival, and every time someone saw it I was like, hold it. Feel how light it is. It's not going to weigh anything. So that's pretty exciting. I like lightweight knitting. I know that sounds like a bit of a weird thing, but don't you find that like knitted jumpers are just a little bit heavier than your usual jumpers, and that kind of puts a bit of a barrier between you know, just actually wearing it? I don't know, it's just, I feel like this is more likely for me to bring it places when I'm going and I don't have much space or much weight to go on, like when I'm traveling, which, you know, I will still be flying home to Norway for Christmas, so there is still one travel happening, and it's just nicer when your knitwear doesn't take up that much space, doesn't like boil you alive. So I'm really happy about that. For anyone curious, I am knitting it with JC Rennie Super Soft yarn. It's a 4-ply yarn. It's a light fingering weight yarn, if you ask me. It's got meters, 246 meters, 270 yards per 50-gram ball. It's traditionally in cones. It's very often used on knitting machines. These are like one of the old timers. They've been in the Highlands since the 1700s, I think. They were like the first that kind of started to use, you know, sheep farming and stuff like that there. And yeah, a lot of people find it a bit odd that it's called super soft, and the same thing applies to things like Holst, to Black Hill yarn from Garnsurr, lots of other yarns that sell super soft yarns, using that as a title. And it's really just that, it's a term. It's not actually describing that this yarn is softer than any yarns you've tried before, because it's not merino, it's not cashmere, it's a pure lamb's wool, and The super soft is just the title that JC Rennie came up with ages ago, and a lot of other mills have later jumped on and also produced in the same manner. It just means that it's a very soft 100% sheep wool, and I guess at the time it was considered the softest thing you could get. So it's just a title that describes the quality of yarn that has a certain weight, meterage, fiber and tradition. I will say though that it's still soft. I would wear this next to skin. I do have a cardigan in whole super soft, and sometimes it gets a bit prickly right here, like this point on my chest, but not my neck and not my wrists and nothing else. I love having it on my arms, so it just depends on your sensitive areas, but like I can still wear it. It doesn't make me go like ha ha ha. So that it should be fine. So I did a bit of a cheeky cast on. I was feeling a bit out of sorts last night. I'm not going to get into details there, but I needed something simple, something new, something fresh. I wasn't going to pick up either Polworth or Rocane or any of those, even though I know they're pretty simple. I don't know why, and it could be because my friend Anna was knitting this in Bergen and I saw it knit up so quickly, and I think that's exactly what I needed, and I had the yarn, I have the pattern. So Skogafjell by Diana Walla is happening, and I've already finished one sleeve, cast on last night, finished this morning, and I've already done the cuff of the second sleeve. It is that fast. Yeah. And what's more interesting is that this is actually my first rodeo with Letlopi. I've talked about Letlopi a lot. I have knit with the Plushy Lopi. I've handled Letlopi for years, but I've actually never gotten around to do a proper Letlopi project. So pop in the Letlopi cherry or whatever people say. And yeah, full sleeve. It's a really nice yoke. I'll put in a picture here. I've kind of stopped doing that for all sorts of reasons to do with just it being quite fiddly with my editing software, taking a lot of time and organizing, and really people own their photos, so even though it's good promotion, it's sort of like I don't feel like I always can, but I'm sure Diana doesn't mind. So this is the garment in question, and I'm really excited about having it. I'm using the exact same yarn, exact same colors, because don't fix what's not broken. I, as a designer, usually find it so exciting when people use very different colors from what I've used, and even in different places. But in the end, this is just beautiful in green. I'm sure it will be lovely in like red to look festive, or blue to look a bit more like a winter forest. But I mean, green, you guys, it just looks so nice in green, and I apparently have a thing for greens and yellows lately. Not sure what's up with that, but the yellow theme has continued in my acquisitions that you will probably see in the corner here. So yeah, I don't have much else to say about Skogafjell right now. I will probably cast on the body pretty soon. I think I might cast on a size bigger than what I am knitting, because while the pattern calls for a 5 centimeter positive ease, I think 5 to 10, I went for 5 centimeter positive ease for my bust. But my hip belly bum area is a lot bigger, so I might cast on one size up from that and maybe decrease towards the waist, making it an A-line. I might also decrease a bit more and increase somewhat so that it has more of a waist. I might copy my Fun and Feather for the shaping. And I say shaping, it really is just shaping. It's just making it not look boxy. It's not like waist shaping makes it waist fitted. It's not like you have to have an hourglass shape or anything like that. It's just to make it less like a box. So you just put in increases and decreases until you have measurements that work with your body, taking ease into account. It's a long story. It's something I covered a lot in my Perth class, and it's something I hope to do more in the future. I had a really good experience with that class, and I hope to host it more. By the way, to anyone who doesn't know, that class was about modifying yoke designs and also other things that are similar to yokes, such as raglans. So that's why I'm talking about that now. Now, some of you might remember that I bought a knitting machine. I bought a brother something, put that here, and it's been a bit of a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why I say, why do people say that? I'm not gonna lie, as usual. This is my carriage, which actually has the name of the machine. Brother KH836, there we go. And this is it. And I think someone's been a bit uncareful. That's someone not being me, that's someone being the previous owner, who should have put the price down, because this error, this brokenness, it's not okay. So this is the corner here. Hang on, this corner here, you can see this whole metal bar here that goes all along the side should pull in when I turn this switch, so that this carriage can be taken on and off my knitting machine, such as when it gets stuck, which is gotten quite often. So this needs to be able to pass, this thing here needs to be able to pass this white corner. It can't do that here because someone's dropped this thing. So I need to apply a lot of force to get this thing out of the machine, and it doesn't really feel right. And I'm like generally considering whether I should talk to PayPal to get a partial refund or something, because this is ridiculous. I may have to replace this entire carriage if worse comes to it. I can tell that this one is quite wonky as well. I can show you on this side. It's pretty straight, pretty parallel to this line. Definitely not here. This thing is clearly just been chucked on the ground. So that's not great. The other issue I'm having is when I'm turning it towards the left, from right to left, it's making a terribly screechy sound, and it's getting more and more stuck the more I try. So I need to clean up this thing. That is annoying because it said it had just been serviced, and when she couldn't offer me a receipt, it was because it was done by a friend. And I'm like, this has not been serviced since the 80s. That might be an exaggeration, but it's certainly not been serviced anytime soon. So I'm a bit annoyed, but I'm not going to sit here and whine about it. I am actually mentioning this because I have made something with it. Not something finished, but still. Though it caused me a lot of grief, especially when I was just about to head to the airport, I have done the whole back side of a sweater. The sweater is actually Sweater Blank by Renee Callahan. So this is the bottom hem. You see that here. There's a bit of scrap yarn for when I cast on. I can take that off now, actually, come to think of it. And then I did a folded hem, which was surprisingly easy. Yes, a bit tedious when I had to align the cast on stitches with the stitches that were currently on the needles. But I did do it for the entire back side, and it's really nice. It's kind of like a tube now, but I mean, once I kind of block it down, I think that would be really nice. I'm now going to do the exact same thing for the front, but I just need to fix the carriage before I do anything more. I think I might break it if I just keep persevering. It does look a bit wonky here in the middle. I do remember that being a bit of a problem area where I just ran into a lot of issues, and we were hoping that will block out. It's just gotten stuck in the same place many times. I don't see anything wrong with the needles. It just seems like that's where the carriage likes to get stuck, and there might be more to do with the carriage. I don't know. I don't know what's user error and what's wrong with the machine. I'm talking to a lot of people that do know machines, so hopefully that will help me. I cast on for the shoulders. This is marking for the neck. I apologize if you can hear the yapping dog. I have to live with this, so you know. So I don't have much else to say than I have done the back of a sweater. It caused me a lot of grief. Stitches fell off, things were bad, but it's working. I need more weight, I think, so that stitches definitely don't fall off. I'm not sure why they did that one time. But yeah, it's been a lot of picking up and fiddling with it, and oh, this is really a bad area. I can see in the back here. This is not good. This like whole line here, something really wrong happened. I'm still learning. I reckon maybe also this yarn is a bit thicker than what the machine's made for, maybe, possibly. It is a really cheap yarn I got from the Sandnes wool factory in Norway when I was there last year. It cost me £20 for the whole bag of 50-gram skeins of this. I think there were 20 50-gram skeins of just pure grey wool, and they called it wool blanket yarn. And it smells like a sheep barn, so I hope that will wash out. Otherwise, this will just be like a sample of the first time I did something with the machine, and I will be trying again with a nicer yarn when I know what I'm doing, if the machine is on my side. There is a knitting machine studio in my neighborhood, so I might pop in there and see if they can advise me somewhat. Don't think I can be bothered to bring the entire machine, but I will certainly bring the carriage, and maybe they can help me out. I hope to take some classes there as well, like that can't hurt. So yeah, I'm just holding up this thing. It's just a big grey canvas. Yeah. It's a really lovely sweater though. I absolutely love that that was the sweater that came with Renee's class, because I was recommended that class by a number of people when I said I'd bought the machine. And I'm thrilled that the sweater has a lovely fit. That's the kind of sweater I would wear otherwise anyway. It's a sort of long crop. Can I say that? It goes really down to the like last portion of my waist. Like it doesn't sit high up. It's just really, really nice. And if anyone was wondering, I mentioned this in the episode before last, the way I view knitting machines is not that it's a shortcut, it's not cheating, it's certainly not without grief, but I think it's just different than hand knitting. It's the way hand seaming and machine seaming are different. Knitting, machine knitting and hand knitting are different, and they're both valid, they're both handmade. I've also been thinking about knitting this particular cardigan by Kate Davies. I wanted to do this for the longest time. You will remember me this spring, I collected the colors for the yoke. I already have a bunch of white and brown yarn in lace weight yarn from Shetland that I got from mother of a friend of mine in Scotland who used to have a yarn shop in the 60s, but now she's like 90 something and she didn't need a yarn. So I've got yarn. I may hold it double, hopefully the machine will allow me, because I thought I would knit the body and the sleeves on the machine. I thought I was being brilliant and clever and original, and then I looked at the pattern and that's exactly what you're supposed to do. I didn't realize that. It's been a collaboration with Ella Gordon, who I believe machine knit the pieces, and then Kate Davies did the yoke for it. And so you can follow this pattern by either hand knitting it or machine knitting it. I thought I'd come up with something new there. Like, I mean, I didn't know that back in the days that's how they would do it. People would buy machine knit pieces and do the yoke because the yoke is the fun part, and I totally agree. I also heard like some places that did it the other way around because people didn't know how to knit yoke, so they would just get the yoke and knit the body by hand, which sounds awful. So it's funny in a way, because I don't want to replace my hand knitting with machine knitting in any way. I by far prefer hand knitting, but I found that I don't really have the mind space nor time to knit at the gauge that I used to. I used to love a gauge of like 26 to 28 stitches to 10 centimeters or 4 inches, and now I'm like, there's not enough time in the universe. I might do 1 or 2 projects that way, but I'm thinking letting my machine take care of some things. I just know I'm not going to hand knit. The only way I will have it is by machine knitting it. That's kind of what it's for. And so I'm also thinking about doing a boxy. I have caked up some yarn for it, so I'm just waiting for the skill to just like fall into my lap, really. This is the yarn in question. I kicked up all 4 skeins. There's no going back now. I've taken it out of the D-stash pile and I'm gonna machine it with it. This is by Yarn Indulgences, and it's so lovely and silky because it's just full on merino, cashmere and nylon. It is quite variegated, so I will have to stripe the 2 skeins every time I work with 2, so I hope the machine can do that as well. And I might have to go to the local studio to get help with this, because the sweater and the pattern is supposed to be knit with a 23 stitch gauge. I haven't managed to get my machine to knit any looser than 26 stitches to 10 centimeters or 4 inches. Possibly down to 24. If I can get it down to 24, I'm happy. But I didn't get it any looser than 26 stitches for that grey sweater, so if my machine can't go any looser than that, I will have to go to that studio and see if they can let me borrow a machine in the studio and do the parts, the body parts there, and then body parts, and then I will just do the sleeve and the like bit of garter for the shoulders by hand. I don't mind that, and I'll probably do a bit of rib at the bottom myself as well, because I've heard that the sweater can flip over a bit if you don't get a proper rib. I would like to hear people's experience with that, if you found solutions to it. I know Amy of Stranded has had found a way around it with a bit more rib, but maybe there's other ways. Maybe there's moss stitch, maybe there's I-cord, maybe there's just lots of options. The last project I have to show you is also a bit of a cheeky new cast on, because apparently I don't finish stuff anymore. I promise I'm gonna get back to that, but I bought some yarn, which I will get back to, but let's talk about the project. I am designing a shawl. I am reproducing a shawl that my mom's had in the attic for pretty much the duration of my childhood. I believe she was given this shawl when she was in school. My mom is 60 something now. And it was just bought as a tourist on the Faroese Islands, the Faroe Islands. So it's a Faroese shawl. You see, I got little corners here. And there's no pattern, there's no source of it. It just seems like something someone handed at home, and I think it's lovely. And I have carefully studied this thing and hopefully managed to figure out how it's constructed. It is bottom up, but you just cast on like 300 something stitches, and it is pretty smooth sailing already. It's a lot of garter, everything is garter, but in the eyelets you don't really get a sense that it is garter. And then now I'm doing a bit of a more serious lace pattern here, and yeah, because it's all garter, the shawl doesn't have any SSK creases. It's all knitted together, so no matter what side you are, and I like that. It's keeping it simple. I thought for a while I was gonna try to mirror them and make it a bit more modern and stuff, but then I realized it doesn't matter because the shawl is reversible. It should work on both sides, so I'm keeping it simple. Everything you need to know to do this pattern is to bind off, cast on, knit, garter, yarn over, knit it together, and that's it. It's going to be so simple, and I'm going to knit it multiple times because I like to experiment with this. I'm pretty new to shawl designs, and I feel like I could go looser than this. Measuring my gauge, it should be the same as the original shawl, but it doesn't look as loose. I got the same gauge, but it just doesn't seem as loose. I'm gonna go up to a 6mm next time. This is the 5.5, so hopefully that will do the trick and I can get an even bigger shawl. But I am pretty happy that I'm only using a 5.5 here because I only have 2 skeins of this and I'm already coming to an end here, so So the rest of this video is just going to be acquisitions and me talking about Bergen Knitting Festival, which was amazing. It was great. The thing that was a little bit dumb was that I forgot my camera battery charger in London, so I didn't have any battery on my camera, so most of what I have filmed was with my phone, but it should be okay. And it was such a great festival. Like, I got the sense that this was going to be great because when I was in Oslo in August, it was pretty much what everyone was talking about. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of great people, friends from last year and people I've gotten to know through the year, and it was just really, really nice. Right now I'm just wearing my Marias, which I know in Norway it's become a bit of a cheesy thing. It's a little bit overdone, but I'm in London so I don't care. So this is the Marias. It's just knit in a superwash merino, and the neckline is super annoying and I need to fix it because every time I put it on it bothers me. It needs short rows. The pattern doesn't come with any shaping with short rows or increases or decreases and nothing. It's just a yoke with obviously increases for the sleeve, decreases for the yoke and that kind of thing, but it's just very basic shape, and that's the kind of thing I actually touched upon in my garment modification class. It's just how to take this very basic shape and make it less like this. Anyway, acquisitions. It's acquisitions time. I did show you some of the things that I bought in Norway in my last video, but that was just stuff that I got in Trondheim. It wasn't much, it was mainly just some buttons and a book. But in Bergen I knew I was gonna go a bit crazy because that's what I do. But I was applauded by several people who was with me last year that I did well this year. I didn't go as crazy as last year. I think last year I had a bit of a shortcut in here that told me that I will never get this yarn again, and well, I went this year as well, so clearly I will get this yarn again. But first I want to cover what came in my mail when I got back home. The latest issue of Bladet Garn, and my friend Margrethe's got a garment on the cover and I didn't even know you designed. When did this happen? Well done, well done. The cardigan is also on the back side. It is beautiful and it's simple, and my friend Christina, who I stayed with in Bergen, had test knit this, so she was wearing it as well, and it's gorgeous. So really, really well done. I don't remember the theme of this magazine, but I think it might just be autumn. Like, it is their autumn issue, and why not just stick to that, you know? So that makes sense. It comes with a lot of interesting articles and patterns as usual. A bit of something about darning. Nice photos here. I'm not going to give away too much, obviously. Here's a nice jumper that comes with it. Another jumper. A beautiful cardigan. There's a lot of texture in this. Maybe that was the theme. Maybe I just missed that. There's a pug jumper. Yeah, it's got a bit of texture. Maybe that's what I forgot. But yeah. Oh, it's so lovely. More texture. Noticing a theme. And here's the green cardigan. Oh, it's so lovely. A mohair jumper, of course. Norwegians are completely hooked on the mohair thing. I really noticed that in Bergen. It's just all about the mohair jumpers. Just, the 80s are full on back. Yeah, mohair all around. So hopefully that was enough of a teaser for you. There was one more thing. There was an article in here. Like, yes, there it is. About Patricia's blockers. And she's written the whole article, and yeah, haven't had the time to read it myself, but I can't imagine it will be anything but amazing. So I got that and I'm really thrilled. I say I got it, I have a subscription which I can recommend, and I may have to renew mine soon. So the festival kicked off with a bang. Even before the festival, even before I got to Hillesvåg, the mill, which I love that mill. I've said it before, I love it. Even before I got on the bus to the mill, I just casually stopped by the yarn shop Norwegian Spirit, which is at the train station in Bergen. And it's pretty much like maybe the only or the most kind of aware of the world around Norway kind of yarn shop in Norway. I love that shop. It's come such a long way even since last year, where I noticed they were taking that direction. They were, you know, they sold a lot of Rowan yarns, which is interesting in Norway. They had Hillesvåg yarns, but you could tell they were also taking in some Brooklyn tweed and some hand-dyed yarns. But this year it was full on. They had so many interesting things, and they had fringe bags. I got my second fringe because this pattern I just love. I've seen it in photos, but I didn't think I would ever get my hands on it. And yeah, it is cute. I'll just show you the text. I can't read things. There we are. So it's a pretty special version, this bag. It's pretty stiff because I haven't used it at all, so I'd save it for the podcast. It has the usual inside pocket and everything. Really nice and boxy. It can probably stand up on its up. Yep. It's funny with me and fringe bags, because I used to feel like fringe bags had become a bit of a status symbol, and I was a little bit opposed to that. Like, oh, everyone needs this bag because everyone needs this bag because everyone has this bag, and I was a bit like, ugh. And then I got one and the snowball started rolling. Part of the reason being is that, you know, these were the first people who did the canvas boxed bags with the knotted drawstring and the slanted leather handle, and I'm feeling a lot of solidarity with that, so I just, yeah, wanted to buy another one. And can't promise it's going to be my last, but I'm kind of hoping to, because, you know, they're not the most affordable bags, but they sure do last forever. So yeah, I got my second fringe. So then I went to the Hillesvåg mill. What happened there? Well, first of all, we got a guided tour, which was so inspiring. I do wonder if we got part of that guided tour last year, or maybe not all of it, and I was just in a complete yarn fume high. But yeah, it's the most beautiful mill. It's part mill, part museum pretty much, because they're using old yarn mill machines and tools that really, if any parts break, they're gonna have to make a new one, because there are no parts for those things anymore. And it's completely all working. Everything in the factory there is all running, and we got to see it work, and it was really cool. We got to see things being dyed, spun, carded, you name it. I filmed tons of it for my Instagram stories. I might be able to copy that and put it in here, but I'm not making any promises. And oh, so good. So at the end of the whole guided tour, we went shopping, because they do have a shop there, and last year I went absolutely bonkers there. I bought so much. I paid twice. I got 2 bags, and so this is actually quite modest by comparison. And what's in here was actually not very expensive. Initially I was only going to buy 5 100-gram skeins and 2 50-gram skeins, but at the very end of the whole thing, I found the scrap pile, where they had lots of unlabeled yarn for £2 each. Yeah, so I think these are both Usk. They both look like Usk, and well, £20 each. I mean, sorry, £2 each. That's nothing. It was 20 krone. That's why I'm mixing it up. And got a black one, got a purple one. Don't know if I've seen these colors before, but you know, this is the kind of yarn I use all the time, so just, yeah, I'm happy to have that kind of thing in my stash and just grab it whenever I need a particular color for a yoke or mittens or something. I also picked up 3 of these, which looks like the most tangled mess ever, and I'm not looking forward to winding this, but it's pelt wool. I mean, this is obviously pelt wool. It really just feels like pelt wool, and it's so blue, but in some lights it looks purple, and it's really interesting. I reckon this must be Sølje. So I basically got myself 3 skeins of Sølje for £6, which is less than the cost of 1 skein of Sølje usually. So I hope you can understand why that had to come home with me. Look how shiny it is. This yarn is so gorgeous. You can get that from, I know, at least Isolde and Midwinter Yarns and Knit with Attitude here in the UK. Again, I'm just saying these things because people will no doubt ask me, and so yeah, please don't feel like this is a commercial. It's really not. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about that. It will be maybe a shawl someday, now that I'm a bit on the shawl kick. And I got some other treats. I got me some Embla. Embla is their DK2 worsted yarn, so my Argo just plain old worsted. Could probably knit up into an Aran as well, I should think. I just want to do some mittens with these. I'm already thinking about a mitten club for next year. I know it's a bit early, but I really had a feeling that this was going to be the last. I didn't think this club was going to take off the way last year's club did, and it's like twice as popular as last year. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that at all. Like within a week we had as many club members of this year's club as there was for the whole duration of last year. Like for a whole year's worth of subscriptions, we had the same number in just a week or two. So I'm already thinking about next year's club, and what I want to do it something similar to this year's, but I want to showcase special yarns. I'm not going to make it a requirement to use those yarns. I just want to take the opportunity to show yarns that are very near and dear to me, or that are just very interesting. So what we have left in this bag is the yarn that I initially planned to buy. So there are 2 skeins of Vilje. Vilje is their new lamb's wool. It's a very, yeah, typical fingering weight yarn. Very, very soft. Definitely a good sort of transition, if you will, between the superwash yarns that you may or may not be more used to and the more rustic yarns, as people say. And I really do think and hope they will come with more colors. Doesn't seem like they have plans to do it as of now, but maybe if you want to send them a very polite and gentle email to say we would like to see more colors of this, you know, maybe they consider. I just know they have big capacity limitations, being a very small mill that produces an amazing amount of yarn. So I understand. I just wish they do more colors of this, the same way they do with Usk and Embla. And lastly, I got 3 skeins of Sword. Sword is more of the DK take on Vilje, so it's lambswool as well, and this is charcoal. The reason I bought these 5, was before I got that yellow yarn, and I wanted to do that shawl in either yarn, and I didn't know which, because I know the shawl I want to replicate is 200 grams, and it seems like then Vilje would be a good take, because this should be enough. But the yarn looks thick, so I thought maybe I'll get some Sword, so this is just what happened. I can't make any promises if this is all going to be that one shawl, but at least it will give me the tools, the supplies I need to experiment, and yeah, maybe there will be multiple shawl patterns, I don't know. I also picked up 2 books from the mill. They sell a lot of knitting books there, and there have been 2 books that I wanted for the longest time, and finally I just bought them. I've been waiting for them to be more readily available, to maybe become a bit cheaper, and it just never happened, and nobody bought them for me for Christmas, so you know, I just bought them. So first book is Fanatrøyer. This is a traditional cardigan design from Fana, which is an area either in or just outside of Bergen. So it's funny because it's like from a different region, but they really do have a very similar aesthetic to Sølje mittens, even though, yeah, different region. And I'd love to experiment a bit with this for designs, but for the time being I just want to learn a bit about it, the history, how it was made for fall costume, and sort of taking a different turn to be a bit more of a ski jumper. And yeah, let's read the back. Let's read the back. Most people, oh god, it's nynorsk. Ooh. Most people probably don't know much about the old Fanatrøyer, these. As the industrial society has developed in the last 50 years, the cardigans have lost a lot of their diversity and has instead gotten a very standardized and almost uniform striped, uniform look of the striped cardigan. The other cardigans have become forgotten. So what did these cardigans look like before, and what have we lost? The most known is the stripe that was originally a cardigan, an everyday cardigan for men, but we can document them back to 1850. And the white mill cardigan is probably older than the striped, and today very few know about the green and the red women's cardigan, because they have basically gotten out of fashion. So we're hoping that this is going to be kind of resurrecting the interest of these cardigans. So in this book you'll find knitting history, a registration form with, I don't know what that means, but with drawings and photography, charts, knitting techniques and patterns, and a very rich photo material. It's really hard to translate on the go, but yeah, that's the best I can do. So hopefully that gives you a sense of what this book is. And I got this book, Pure Wool, by basically the missionary of Norwegian pure wool. It's Ingunn Grimstad Klepp and Tone Skårdal Tobiasson. Both of these ladies have released a plethora of books celebrating Norwegian wool. This book is just about pure wool and talks about that. They have another book about wool from Norway that I have showed you way back, and there's the book that I bought recently about Norwegian knitting history, and they're all really interesting, and I love the contribution that they have made to Norwegian understanding of their own treasures in fibre. I haven't read this book yet, but I had it recommended to me years and years ago, so very happy to finally have it in my collection of Ingunn and Tone's books, and it's very much up my alley. So yeah. I did buy a 4th book as well. Yes, well, I got the Norwegian history book in Trondheim, right, and the other 2 that I showed you now, and I thought I was booked out. But no, I had to get this one. This is so beautiful. The minute Maja announced that this book was coming, I knew I had to have it. So this is Trettiofem Vantar by Maja Karlsson. It's a Swedish language knitting book full of mitten patterns. So this is the back side. I can show you the mittens in detail here. Well, not detail, but like a big run through. She had all the mittens there in the shop where she signed this. So I got to see them, could try them on, I feel them, they're all wonderful and so diverse. I sometimes feel like a bit of a chicken because I always stick to the safe and standardized Salve mittens. Like, I have my own formulas that I know work for different gauges and I'm sort of staying within that, but Maja is trying out so many new and interesting things here, so many different cuffs and shapes and decreases, and oh, it's just so much fun. And can we just talk about her photography skills? I mean, that lady, how can you be this good at knitting and photography and all the things all at once? Just, this is not really supposed to become a review, but it's a gorgeous book. Like, if you're never gonna knit any mittens ever, just buy it for the aesthetics, if anything. Just, oh, the photos. So I got a bit of a greeting. She signed the books for anyone who wanted them. She wrote to Ellie from Maja, warm mitten greetings. So that was really nice. So I almost missed her talk. There were lots of talks that anyone could attend at the festival. I don't know what I had coming up then, but I nearly missed it and I managed to get the end of it and it was really nice. I'm so glad I managed to get to the signing and see the mittens in person, and and to stop rambling and get to the other stuff that I purchased. Otherwise this will be a very long episode, and not to mention I will be running out of batteries because I am only now recharging my batteries, literally since they ran out in Norway, and it takes a while. So I started my rounds at the festival, and the first thing I picked up I got given to me by Trollkar, who makes amazing yarn. So this is probably comparable to Venull, I would say. The meterage seems quite similar, but Trollkar is its own yarn. And I'm really thrilled to see it. We'll be putting that with my shade card collection, which is growing all the time. So thought I'd show you that. And I picked up two skeins of this. You'll see the other one being knitted up into my shawl, and this is more of the Venull Røslig yarn from Værbitt that I bought in Oslo. So I'll show you her logo. This is Værbitt. She has a brick and mortar shop in Oslo. This is the yarn I got. If you want to freeze the screen and read up some info, you can do that. So she's hand-dyed this to this gorgeous yellow. Can you imagine how nice this is going to look with the Threipmere yoke? As a shawl, I mean. So yeah, I was a bit surprised that I gravitated towards yellow again, because it really traditionally has not been my color. But I mean, it's not terrible next to skin. It's not the best for my complexion, but I feel like this is where the line goes of yellows that I can wear. If it's any more yellow than this, like opposite direction to gold and mustard, if it's in the opposite direction, I can't. This is where the line is drawn. So I look forward to having a shawl in this. It's so nice. It's a blend of lamb's wool and pelt wool. So basically the yarns I showed you previously, the Sølje, the really shiny blue yarn, and the Sol and Vilje, this is a mix. So it was made by Hillesvåg, of course, and dyed by Laila of Værbitt, and it's just gorgeous. I'm so glad I managed to get the two skeins that were there. I wish there'd been a third one just so I could feel a bit safer, but it should be enough for the shawl. And I thought I was kind of shopped out when it comes to very special treat bags. I was certainly not going to buy another Fringe bag in a long time, but when I saw this bag I couldn't help myself. This is the cutest bag, and it's made in a proper sturdy interfaced material, so you can hardly hear my voice from the other side. Look at that print. Isn't this the cutest thing you've seen in your entire life? And it's got deer on it, so it just had to come on with me. I don't have any excuses. I mean, this is just, look at that. Look at it. Isn't this just the prettiest? Oh, I don't even know what kind of special project is going to get to live in here. It's just so cute. I haven't actually drawn the strings yet, so let's try that. It is really well interfaced, this thing. But there we are. Hoping the interface is going to loosen up a bit, but yeah. The bag is made from, I almost forgot. Annes Muscari. So this is like kind of what the label says. Annes Muscari. Hopefully you could read that. And yeah, she had lots of really amazing bags and I wanted pretty much all of them, maybe half of them so if I was going to be sensible. She had some with unicorns, some with narwhals and some with flamingos, and they were epic, so I can highly recommend these. Oh, it's kind of crazy how I've like gotten really into knitting project bags, but we need to move on. There is more stuff. I kind of gotten out of the habit of checking who's going to Vantar festival I attend. I kind of like to be surprised. I seem to be shopping a lot less when I don't know everything. But because I knew Sjølingstad was going to have a talk at the festival, I suspected they would be vending as well. So just for context, Sjølingstad is a very small museum and museum mill in Norway. It's in southern Norway, not too far away from where I have family, but yeah, I haven't managed to get them to buy me yarn there yet. So I haven't managed to get my hands on it. Like, they don't really have a web shop. You can't phone them and get yarn shipped, but I'd like to see it in person. And so when I saw it in person, I just held up a skein and said, finally, and I bought 10. And honestly, these were priced about £8 each. So me buying 10, I really have no qualms with. Yeah, so there was one yellow sweater quantity, one red, and I got a black and a white skein because there was only one each of those. And I thought those could become some really nice mittens as well. Of course, now I am toying with the idea of making this beautiful Christmas cardigan in red by Tori Seierstad. I'll put up a photo here as well. It's just something I've been drooling over, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have time because, again, that kind of gauge is something I revisited a lot more before and lately not so much. So this is the yarn, so you get the idea. I really wish this yarn was more readily available, but I love this red so much. Same goes with this yellow. This is the kind of yellow I can wear. This is proper LA yellow, like a gold proper yellow. So this is just going to be my Sjølingstad bag, although it's got the Værbitt logo on it because I shopped a bit there, you know. So I didn't want to use the yellow yarn actually to make the magnolia from last lane issue. I have technically bought the latest lane issue, but I haven't picked it up from Loop yet. So yeah, the thing about the magnolia is first of all, I want to make it into a cardigan in just pure wool because Ingvild of the Strikkefestival podcast in Norway did that, and it's beautiful. She did it in Venull and I love it. And it's weird that it worked at that loose gate, but hey, it did, so Sjølingstad should work fine as well. The only issue is that I find the sizes of the magnolia in lane to be really off. What they call XL is really a lot smaller, especially when you take into account the positive ease. It's just not quite right. There should be bigger sizes there, and the way that sizes have been named, it just doesn't sit right with me. So actually, the designer, Camilla Vard, I believe, she's put up the design herself separately. So she's selling one that is changed from the original, so it's a separate pattern where the sleeve lengths have been varied, and she has fixed the sizes. Not only that, but there are more and bigger sizes available. So that's great, but I will have to buy the same design twice to make it my size, which just seems a bit unfair, but like there's nobody I can be upset with because Lane is a physical, not digital magazine, so it's not like they can send people that update. And this is actually the designer fixing this thing, which is great, and I understand that she can't like verify whether people have bought Lane to like update them. So it's just like, I'm gonna have to just buy that pattern. Like, that's not an issue, it's just kind of... thing with sizes is interesting. I've been discussing that a lot lately, and I don't have any strong opinions there, I just have very strong feelings, and I feel like size inclusivity is important, and I am feeling a bit hesitant about naming sizes medium, large and XL. But anyway, I'm not sure if I was going anywhere with that. It was just some thoughts I was having, and I think it's worth that we all think about that, basically. Now lastly, we won the quiz. There was a quiz at Bergen Knitting Festival and my amazing group won. So I now have a 100% success score on winning knitting quizzes or being on very, very good team for knitting quizzes, because it was a really good combination of people that knew various things, and we sort of all yeah, complimented each other on our knowledge, and we won an insane amount, which I think stressed out a good number of us, certainly me. It was very hard to know what to do with it all, and we were 6 people, so there wasn't enough, you know, to distribute. It was just kind of, I don't know, the vendors had contributed the prices, and it was super, super generous, and I ended up with winning this pile, so we did kind of a bit of a draw between us, and I got wool soap from Trollkar. It's the same person who does the shade cards for that yarn. This is wool soap. It looks very soapy. It's kind of like, yeah, foamy inside. I really only use the kind of commercial wool soaps I've found in the supermarket, so I'm really excited to try this. You can use it for hand wash and machine wash, which is really nice, and yeah, made for wool, which I really like. So I was very thrilled to win that. I've been very curious about it. So there. The other thing I was very excited to win was some Knitography stitch markers. These are the stitch markers in question. They are inspired by Sølje mittens, of course. That's kind of, you know, what me and Patricia have in common, and she had a wonderful stand there. So the stuff that she sold was beautiful, and the setup was great with a suitcase, and it was just Sølje mitten galore all the way. And she even used my Sølje socks to display the sock blocker she has, which made me, you know, thank you, Patricia. That was super lovely. And I'm so thrilled to have won your stitch markers. I thought they were really nice. I also won a pattern from KnitHappens. It's called It's All in the Back, because really it's all in the back. That's where the pattern is. And lastly, in this prize, kind of weirdly got me a bit nervous, like I'm not worthy, I don't know what to do with this. This is great, but oh my god, I won this. 4 skeins of Garnsurr single ply merino. I'm like, I don't feel worthy. This is pretty generous, and I went up and told them later that I won this, and like, it's just mad. What do I do with all this? Because like, I've talked about single ply merino before, and like, I feel like it's really only good for shawls and things you want to drape and not pill. And I've done, you know, the Vertices Unite shawl that I have in single ply merino, the same base from La Bien-Aimée, and I love it. So I'm kind of toying with the idea of a second Vertices Unite, you know, not that I have time, but wouldn't that be ridiculously amazing in this yarn? I only need 1 more skein, which I have in my stash. I got some brown La Bien-Aimée, I've got scraps of single ply merino. I could make something really amazing work here. Now that I made 1 vertices, I know what I would change to make a second one. So it's mad. It's absolutely mad. This thing is just like, what? Wow. So that was all I have for my haul for Bergen Knitting Festival. This is the little booklet that they gave out to everyone, and I just thought I'd show you that just to kind of have a logo, something representing the festival. So well done everyone involved, everyone organizing, every volunteer, everyone taking part, everyone teaching, vending, whatever people do at festivals, having talks. Yeah, it was amazing. And it's weird because it's not weird, but it's not a very big venue, but there were thousands of people there, and it never felt that way. There was always someone in the seating area, someone in the lecture or talk room, someone having classes, someone in the market. Everyone would always be spread out, and it never felt like it was crowded or exhausting or anything. I mean, I was exhausted because I didn't sleep, but the festival was really quite impressive. I can't believe I actually made it to the end of that whole festival ramble. It's just been a week of great impressions. I'm so grateful to Christina and her boyfriend for hosting me at their place, and to Anna who hosted me the last night. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do any of these trips if it weren't for the lovely people that have been generous to let me stay there, or otherwise help me out so that I can do all the things and tell you about them and show you. And yeah, I think I'll easily say that Bergen Knitting Festival was the yarn event in Norway this year. It was certainly a big favorite of mine, and whoa, the sun came out. So I think that's the sun trying to tell me that I should wrap this up and get back to my PhD work, because apparently I can't have any fun. So I will see you guys next week. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, thank you. Bye.